Today's guest believes the average person could live to be close to 100 years old and still function like they're almost 40, not because of genetics or because of any medications they were taking, but because of how they managed inflammation, oxidative stress, and the internal environment of the human body. Welcome to the SwagAbility Show, where faith meets resilience and purpose drives how we live. I'm your host, Steve Wagstaff, founder of SwagAbility, where our mission is to see you thrive wherever life finds you. While we are a faith-first brand, we also believe in being wise stewards of the tools, resources, and opportunities that can help us live healthier and more purpose-filled lives. My guest today is Dr. Paul Barattiero, founder of Echo Water and a global advocate for molecular hydrogen therapy. Dr. Paul, thanks for taking some time out of your busy schedule to hang out with us on the SwagAbility Show.
It's my pleasure. It's an honor to be with you.
Super. I've done some research and deep dive on your product and a little bit about you as well. But before we talk about the hydrogen and inflammation and the performance and longevity and all that good stuff, from what I understand, your beginning was far from thinking about hydrogen and things. It came from more of a personal interest that was affecting you. Am I right about that?
Absolutely. It was definitely, I never woke up one day and said, I want a hydrogen water device company. And, it was definitely out of necessity and wanting to help my queen and the love of my life, my wife.
Yeah. You guys been together for a while now?
Yes, today is our 32-year wedding anniversary, so it's kind of cool.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so the origin story of Echo Water goes back 22 years. So we were married roughly 10 years at that time. My wife was extremely sick. We had had miscarriages.
Oh,
We were wanting to have a child, of course, and so every church in the area was praying for
amen.
us.
Amen.
We were praying. We were trying every kind of doctor, and what we narrowed it down to is from the time she took birth control, which I kind of begged her not to do, but she did, and ever since that, she had serious issues and has still today. But she's living an amazing life because of Echo Water. That really, I believe, and she believes she's still alive.
And were
But
you
at
a
that,
GP? So were you a general
I,
practitioner at that time as a doctor?
no, not at all. I'm a doctor of naturopathy, and I'm in a PhD program
Mm-hmm.
for integrative medicine. But at that time, I was a podorthist and a certified health specialist, and different licensures that I had. So at that time when she was sick, my entire focus in life was really in diabetes and preventing decubitus ulcers and amputations of the feet. I
Yeah.
had a shoe company where we manufactured therapeutic shoes and orthotics for people's feet so that they would not contract decubitus ulcers and have amputations.
Yeah.
That was my focus. And I also had a company in the silicone gel world where I developed material that would mimic human fatty tissue. So
Mm.
we were making wheelchair cushionings. We were making three-dimensional pads that we would sell to rehab
So
companies
important.
for quadriplegic and paraplegic individuals. So
Yeah.
that's you and I
I
are
do know it
connected
well.
on that point.
Yes,
Yep,
sir.
yep. So, that was my world at the time. I wasn't understanding. I mean, I understand the gynecological area of the body, of course, but that wasn't my focus. That wasn't where I was spending my practice. And so at that time in our marriage, my wife, when she would have her cycle, her monthly cycle, she was down for the count for 5 to 7 days. She was highly anemic. She would faint. She had short term memory issues. She was in doubled over in pain.
Yeah.
She had adenomyosis. I mean, there were so many issues going on. I really couldn't leave during that week of the month, so I had to plan my trips and stuff around that. And so, really, our family was disrupted because of this. As many people understand, where the wife has an issue, the
Yes.
entire family suffers
Yeah.
when the wife is having complications. And so here it was, every single month, my wife was having issues. And so I was looking for any way possible to help her, to improve her, to not have this be her reality. And interesting, the story, I've told it, thousands of times, but here we were, 9/11 had occurred a time before. We lived in Kissimmee, Florida. Disney World was, half an hour from our home.
Beautiful.
People were coming to Disney World, and some of our close friends from church had an organic food store in Kissimmee, Florida. And so a good chunk of their revenue, at least half of their company, was based on people that were renting condos coming to their store to buy organic food. And now that people weren't coming to Disney,
Right.
they didn't have enough revenue and they were in trouble. So they came to me for a loan to help them weather the storm. And they thought they would be able to pay it back really quickly. The reality is that it took longer than they thought, but they eventually did pay it back. I forgave the interest in the process and said, just pay me back the principal. It's not that, it doesn't matter that much. We're close friends. We go to church together and stuff. So let's not worry about it. They did pay back the loan. And then as a thank you for forgiving the interest, they took my wife and I on a cruise. Wow. November of 2005, out of Fort Lauderdale, we went on the Carnival Liberty ship on a 9-day cruise with them. And that's better than interest any day, right? For me.
Sure.
So here we go on a cruise. Now, mind you, the first day of the cruise is the first day of my wife's menstrual cycle.
Okay.
We did not choose the dates of the cruise.
Right.
Our friends did. We would never have chosen those dates knowing that my wife wouldn't really be able to participate in the cruise. Yeah. So here we were driving down from Orlando to Fort Lauderdale. My wife was doubled over in pain in the backseat of the vehicle. It was horrible. We stopped at a pharmacy almost all the way down there to the cruise port, and we took her inside to change her gear. And they were like, do we need to call an ambulance for her? And we're like, no, this is normal. And they're like, what?
Sounds like a good time.
Oh my gosh. So we get to the ship. Our friends give us this suitcase that had a few gallons of water in it, like 4 gallons of water. And I thought, what the heck? And they had told me before, by the way, we're bringing water for you guys. And I'm like, are you serious? So I went on the Carnival Cruise Line and said, can you bring your own water? And at the time you could. You cannot today. Okay. But at that time, they would let you bring water for yourself. So anyways, here we were with a few gallons of water. They brought gallons of water for themselves. We get on this cruise. I take my wife to the cabin. She lays down, and that's where I think she's going to be for the next most of the cruise. And I didn't want to be a jerk. So I go to art auctions, I come back. I go this, I come back. I'm just trying to be like not a jerk, but also not sit there and read a book either, So I come back one of the times and she says, hey, I need some water. I'm thirsty. And I said, here's some of that water and that our friends brought. And she says, can I have more? And I said, sure, of course. And can I have more? I'm like, babe, you're drinking a lot of water. And she goes, yeah. I can't stop drinking it. My body is craving this water. Like there's something to it. And she puts her fist together and she's like, I can't stop drinking it. Like, I don't know. My body's craving it or something. And I'm like, okay. And I jokingly said, because I'm kind of a goofball, let's be honest. And I said, okay, I'll drink the toilet water. Because my friends were saying that the ship water was toilet water.
Gotcha.
It is a joke, of course. We're not saying that is literal. But they were joking. And so I said, here, you drink this water that our friends brought. I'll drink the regular water on the ship. And within a day and a half, she was up and around and fully participating. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing on the planet, right? Like my wife is going to enjoy this cruise. And she did enjoy the cruise. We went to Costa Rica. We went to the Panama Canal, watched ships go through. I held a sloth. Like we went to Panama, Costa Rica. We had such a blast on that 9-day cruise we were on. And so I was so grateful. So here I was one morning, the day after she was doing better. And I'm like, hey, what's in this water? Like Jacqueline's feeling better. And they're like, yeah, we knew she would. We thought she would. That's why we brought it. And I'm like, what's in the water? And they're like, we don't know. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? And she's like, we don't know. And so I'm like, wait, didn't you buy a machine? They're like, we bought machines, 4 of them. And we have 200 people a day coming and buying water by the gallon. I'm like, okay, so what do you tell them? Well, we tell them this is amazing water and it's going to help with every possible thing. I said, okay, but you literally don't know why. You're not telling them why. No, no. Well, what does the guy say that sold you the machine? He doesn't know. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like Scamville, right? Like this.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't that it didn't help my wife, I would be like, you guys are scaring me, right? So, long story short, I didn't care. I'm a typical guy. She's doing better. I'm
Yeah.
loving life. We go home. I continue with normal life and didn't think about it again. And so understand that that's the way I was. So I was like, hey, I'm all good now. We had a great cruise. I'm happy. Long story short, we're back. Well, within 6 months, with literally within 6 months, my wife's menstrual cycle was like almost normal. And we used to have like a family council every month where we would plan out the month because of her cycle. Because she would be anemic, she would faint, like it was really not good. So I was like, "Hey, when's your cycle?" And she goes, "I'm on it." It was like we started last week, and I'm like, "What? You left the house, right?" Like what? And she's like, "Oh my gosh, you're right." Like all of a sudden it hit her, "Wait a minute. This something's different." And so I'm like, she goes, "Didn't you notice there's a gallon jug in the pantry?" I said, "Of course I didn't notice there's a gallon jug of water in the pantry." And so I'm like, "Okay, I need to talk to my friends." I'm like, "This is really something. I need to figure this out." My friends, this is 6 months later, my friends still didn't know anything about what the mechanisms were. So I started doing a deep dive. I wanted to understand what could be the possibilities of this water helping my wife. And
And
I,
was it coming directly, all this water, was it coming directly from your friend's store, or
yeah,
was she able to find it elsewhere?
no,
It's coming straight from
she
them.
was just going to their store, giving them
Gotcha.
$2 a gallon, filling
Yeah.
up in these machines they had.
Yeah.
And that was what she was doing. And
Mm.
so I was like, okay, I want to test this water. And I started doing some research. I didn't know what I was looking for. You got to remember, I didn't, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack, but you don't know what a needle looks like.
Yeah.
So here I was looking for something that looks different than straw, but I don't know what it is. I'm even looking for.
Yeah.
So all I know is I have this water and it's changed my wife's life, and I want to know what the heck is it, and they don't know. And the guy who sold them the machine doesn't know. He's saying it's the pH of the water, which I'm like, no way, it is not the pH of the water, because I could put baking soda in water and give that to my wife. That's not going to help her, and hasn't helped her. So I was just like, what in the heck is the mechanism? I want to know what blessed her life, because I want to bless other people's life.
Yeah.
That's really where my mind was going.
Mhm.
So I did research, and there was no hydrogen in that water, by the way. There was a negative ORP, and there was a higher pH. Now, the higher pH doesn't make a bit of difference in the body. So I ruled that out immediately, because it's never going to get through stomach acid. Our
Was this
stomach acid is going to buffer the pH of any solution.
was this something that throughout school and all that, like, was research one of your areas of you enjoy, like getting
Yeah.
to the bottom of things?
Well, I'm just one of those weird people.
Yeah.
Like way back in 1993, and 94, when I got my first computer
Okay.
and Windows 95 came out, I was like, what's inside this box? Like, here's this computer I bought.
Yeah.
What's in there?
Mm.
And so
You're one of them.
I'm one of them. I opened it up, and what's in there is a lot of air,
Yeah.
actually, and a couple boards, right? And that's about all that was in a Windows 95 machine at that time. But there was a modem, right? A hard drive, a CPU. I mean,
Mm.
you didn't have much else those days. A sound card. So, but I'm one of those people who wants to know
Wants
how
to know.
things work. I like to know that, and so it's just the way my brain works. So here I was. I want to know how this water works.
Yeah.
And so I started to test it. And the only thing I could find is that it had a negative ORP. In other words, with an ORP meter, you could test that the water had a negative electrical potential.
Meaning,
Meaning that there was, it's not electricity, but it's an electrical potential. Typically, tap water will have a positive ORP,
mhm,
which is oxidative, and a negative ORP will mean it's antioxidant for the body. And so
okay,
it's like a negative ions, right? And things
yeah,
like this. It is really good for your health.
mhm,
And so I'm like, okay, I can see that. I don't care that the pH is higher because I can put lemon juice in it and immediately drop the pH, but that doesn't change the negative ORP. The negative ORP lasts through lemon juice, through altering the pH. So I wanted to understand what the negative ORP does. Well, what I began to understand is that the bacteria in the gut thrives on electrical potential. When we look at aerobic bacteria and we look at anaerobic bacteria, they both like opposite electrical potentials. So aerobic bacteria wants a positive electrical potential. Anaerobic microflora wants a negative electrical potential, typically around a negative 300, negative 400 millivolts. So this water I was testing had that property to it, and I thought, okay, I can understand that that helped my wife's intestinal tract,
mm,
which then gave her more energy, gave her body the ability to fight. And so while I was doing my research, I came across the fact that the reason why the negative ORP would be there would be hydrogen gas. But there was no hydrogen gas in that water. It wasn't still in the water, but because it had passed through the water, there was that negative ORP. So I thought to myself, okay, if the negative ORP has this much of a benefit, what would hydrogen gas do? Well, I started doing research, and once I asked that question, what will hydrogen gas do? Oh my gosh, there were so many things. And I had never thought about it,
what
but
is hydrogen? If you don't mind breaking it down to the very basic, from my understanding and things like that, what's hydrogen? What is hydrogen? Gas?
hydrogen is number one on the periodic table, right? Hydrogen is an atom. You have H, it's your first item on the periodic
H2O.
table.
Gotcha.
So obviously, when you combine hydrogen gas, H2, and oxygen, we make
Water.
water.
Mhm.
Hydrogen is involved, even our body is carbon hydrogen chains.
Mm,
So hydrogen bonds with carbons and things to make up who we are. And
mm,
so, I mean, hydrogen is life. If you really want to go back to the origin of life,
yes.
hydrogen is very involved along with oxygen. You know, Oxygen is an oxidizer. Hydrogen is a reducer. When you combine the two, it makes water. But they both have different effects. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but hydrogen is so critical to the proper function of our bodies that the creator made a hydrogen generator in our body.
Mm,
So if and this is the big if the gut is working correctly and we have the appropriate electrical potential and we have the proper bacteria, we ferment foods. So in the colon, digestion, which starts in the stomach and in the mouth with enzymes and then stomach acid, and then it goes down into the intestinal tract, we're actually fermenting food. Hydrogen would be a byprocess if the right bacteria was in the gut. But that requires the right bacteria, and it also requires that our gut is functioning properly.
mm.
And we know it's not because 90% of the population
North
it's
American diet.
estimated have gut issues.
Yeah, because of our North American diet.
Well, because of pesticides and chemicals and
Gotcha.
other contaminants in the water. I wouldn't say it's our diet. I would say it's what's in the food that we're
Mm,
eating. We
gotcha.
we can eat whatever the heck we want, but if there's chemicals in it that are harming our bacteria in our gut, we're not going to have a healthy life.
Mm.
Period.
So, what
So
was the aha moment then for this
So the
hydrogen.
aha moment was when I understood it was ORP, and then when I understood that hydrogen
Yeah.
could do all these things, and then my whole mission was, okay, I have to create a device
Mm.
that will keep hydrogen in the water. In other words, this other device that they were selling, hydrogen was in there for a short time and gone. I want hydrogen in the water because I'm seeing studies back to the 1800s where hydrogen had antioxidant effects in the body. And again, if we understand the way our gut functions, the creator made a hydrogen generator in our gut. Now, what do we call that? Flatulence.
Yeah.
So now we can call it fart therapy because we're saying that part of the farts are hydrogen and so it's good for us. But long story short, we should be producing hydrogen in our gut,
Yes.
and therefore that hydrogen gas, which is not bonded to carbohydrates, is not bonded to proteins, is not bonded to hormones, is not bonded to all these things, can actually create stomach acid, right? HCl. H is hydrogen. So you can't make stomach acid without hydrogen. And we need hydrogen for energy. We need hydrogen for all kinds of things in our human body.
Does
Like I
it
said, the
come
body is carbon hydrogen
Mhm.
chains.
Does it come in the form of, when I'm thinking hydrogen, does it come in the form of carbonation, hydrogen in a
No,
water?
that's carbon dioxide. That would
That's
be
carbon.
CO2.
Okay, gotcha. So this has nothing to do with the bubbles then in
No,
the water.
no, the bubbles in our devices are H2.
Gotcha.
So understand that hydrogen gas, uncoupled, or what we call available, is highly needed in the body for us to function normally. So if all of our guts were working properly, we would create hydrogen. We wouldn't need echo water. We'd be making plenty of hydrogen. We would have perfect immune function. We wouldn't have joint issues. We wouldn't have cancer. We wouldn't have all the disease models that are caused by oxidative stress and inflammation. So understand hydrogen's primary role is keeping oxidation in a normal range so we don't end up having oxidative stress and then chronic inflammation. So the creator knew this. The grand engineer of our body knew we have to have hydrogen in that body to keep inflammation down, to keep oxidative stress down so that the body functions normally. So your immune function is high and your brain is working and your eyes are working and your heart is working and your all the nervous system and the mitochondrial function, all these things need hydrogen. And so understand that if we change the electrical potential in the intestinal tract, then we no longer have anaerobic microflora. We have more aerobic. And so automatically we will crave sugar, carbs, and have anxiety and depression. And that's where the public is at. They have more aerobic bacteria than they should. And so they're craving carbs and sugar. When you're eating carbs and sugar a lot, you're now going to have oxygen radicals in your mitochondrial respiratory chain. So if we can flip the polarity of the intestinal tract to a negative electrical potential around 300, 400 millivolts, which hydrogen water does, now we get anaerobic microflora, and now that bacteria wants fatty acids and fiber. And we have less depression and anxiety, and now we want fatty acids and fiber, which is whole foods. Now we're not creating oxygen radicals in the mitochondria, the respiratory chain. Now we're getting good energy, we're having good immune function, and we're having less inflammation, so we don't have joint issues and we don't have as many disease models like we did 200 years ago, right? So this is the story for people to understand that man-made issues is what we're experiencing today. And therefore, disease models, which are on the rise, aren't really natural.
You break health down, I think, into 7 pillars, if I'm not mistaken. Um, if someone and people listening to this show, if you had to say focus on one or two, I guess they're all important. First of all, what are those 7 pillars, and which ones do you think give the biggest return for our health?
Well, I think it's all the basics.
All in.
We all know what we should be. There's not a human being on this planet that is, an adult living on this planet for a while that doesn't know you should get proper sleep. You should drink water. You should not be eating sugar all day long. You should be getting some exercise, what I call fun, sweaty activities. It doesn't mean you have to climb Mount Kilimanjaro every day or you need to run 20 miles a day, but you need to have some movement in your life. We're supposed to sweat so we can get stuff out. We are supposed to use the bathroom so we can get stuff out. I would say if we're eating proper foods that are actually food, which isn't always the case, but whole foods, naturally occurring foods, if we're drinking clean water that doesn't have harmful contaminants in it, if we are getting appropriate sleep, if we're, just the very basics that your grandmother or great grandmother taught you, those are all the things that work. It's all the stuff we do that is newer, man-made, that we've talked ourselves into believing is necessary. That's usually the stuff that's harming us. The only thing I would say that isn't a part of all that is having forgiveness. Now, anyone who is reading scriptures or understanding Christ, which I'm assuming you talk about,
Amen.
understands the critical importance of forgiveness.
Hmm.
And if we understand why Christ taught to forgive no matter what, and where do we have, let me ask you this will be fun. What's the greatest statement Christ ever said to teach us how critical forgiveness is?
Well, he talks about there's no end to it. The Pharisee said 7 times, 77, not meaning 490, but Christ meant there is no level. There is nothing unforgivable.
That's right. So, but that the one I'm thinking about is when he's on the cross.
Oh, right. Yeah. Forgive them, for they don't even know what they're doing.
That's right.
Yeah.
What compassion is that? They just nailed him. The only perfect man or a God that has been on this earth, the only perfect individual, and they're crucifying him. And he says, Father, he's speaking to his Father, our Father, the Father of our spirits, the Father of Christ's Spirit. And he says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. In other words, he was intelligent and emotionally mature enough to say, they have no idea who I am. Because if they did, they would not do this to me. But because they don't understand who I am, Father, forgive them. And wow, if we could use that maturity in life with other people who are doing things to harm us. Now, I am not advocating being abused, accepting abuse, or even hanging out with people that are abusive. No. Draw a line right there and don't accept abuse. Now, but that doesn't mean you can't forgive them and move away from them. You don't have to trust them. The 2 great commandments are to love and forgive. God never said you're commanded to trust. Trust is earned. So I'll get off that topic because that's one of my favorite topics to talk about.
You go from water to, but you're true. Like we are at our very being core spiritual, with a human component built on top of our spirit. So, and we break down big time ways.
Right.
So I appreciate what y- you're right. Like, I think you're absolutely correct. Unforgiveness is one of those biggest things that, I if anything causes the gut to be at unrest,
Yeah.
it's that feeling of I ought to, but I can't, or I've been
Yeah.
harmed. So that
Yeah.
it just causes so much stress. So you're right. I mean, it's not
Wh-
just foods,
When,
it's how we
thank
live.
you. When we choose to not forgive,
That's right.
we are choosing to hold claim
Mm.
on another individual's life, and that is not really our responsibility, our role. It is God's role. It is deity's role, and they know the beginning from the end. They know the heart of the individual. We do not. And our job is to just say, I'm going to get out of the way and not hold claim so God can go through a process with them, and I'm not the one holding them back. I'm going to forgive and move on. I'm not going to put myself in harm's way, but I'm not going to hold claim on their life. Let them work that out with their master, with God, with whatever they're going to do. Not my
Mm.
monkey, not my circus. Isn't that the name of the funny thing?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But the reality is, it relieves us. It restores us to a healthy place. It does not mean that we are less than and they are greater, or we're condoning their activity. No. Christ did not condone them for nailing to a cross. He just said, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." He was giving them grace.
Mm.
And we can give people grace without saying, "Hey, do it again. I will let you." Christ never said, "I'm going to get back up there tomorrow. Do
Mm.
it again to me." He fulfilled his role, and that's it. But the point that I'm making is, we can choose to love and forgive. And then we know not to trust that individual because they're abusive, and we move ourselves out of harm's way. And that's all I would say, how you should live your life. You can forgive people that harm you, and you can move away from them so they can't harm you more. But by you choosing to forgive, you have blessings that will come to you. Because as it says in the scriptures, with the forgiveness you give, I will forgive you. So where God may say, well, shoot, Paul didn't know he was making this dumb choice, I'm going to forgive him because he forgave the other 50 people that made dumb choices with him unknowingly. So there you go. There's my 2 cents.
I love it. We got from water to the true the true word and the true source of all life,
Yeah.
which is great. Um, when it comes to one of the things I think you were talking about is another importance for us is lymphatic flow
Yeah.
uh, and inflammation.
Yeah.
Talk to me a bit about why it is so critical to have movement as part, especially me. I know in a chair, and to other people that are living with disabilities, one of the hardest things we find in doing is being active, but it's probably one of the best things we can do for ourselves is stay active. Talk about that for a little bit.
Movement. We are designed to move. Our bodies are not designed to be static or laying around or sitting around. They will atrophy. Our muscles will atrophy. Our mind will atrophy. We are designed by the sweat of their brow. And you can take that into a whole lesson into itself. But we are designed to move. We are designed to function. We are designed to be active. We are not designed to be complacent or acted upon. And I'm not saying you need to go in the gym for 3 hours a day. I'm saying you need to just move around, put a good song on and dance your booty a little bit.
Mm.
Get on a rebounder, do a little bit of walking outside. Like, this is so good for your mind and for your heart and for your senses and your skin and all these things. It's really good to be active, and
the proper way of breathing too, correctly, when you're active?
Well, I think you naturally will. If you're walking, you're going to have to breathe a little deeper than if you're sitting on the couch, shallow breathing. I'm not saying you need to box breathe or you need to go into these specific breathings. There are benefits to that, of course.
Hmm.
But here's the deal, let's not have to think about it so much. Let's just go out the front door, put some good shoes on, and go enjoy nature a little bit. Walk a mile or so, walk a half mile, walk a block, whatever you can do now. Go do it today and just move around a little bit and see if your body likes that. Now, one thing that I will tell you is if you lack hydrogen, you're going to have a faster fatigue response. One of the things hydrogen does is almost do away with fatigue and recovery times. So some people that go and exercise or move around, it might take them half an hour to an hour to recover. Hydrogen, Echo water, drinking Echo water, because of the hydrogen gas in it, can reduce that recovery time by 85%.
Wow.
So it could go to a few minutes instead of half an hour. And also, people that used to run 2 miles and can't anymore, when they drink Echo water, and let's say they're older, now they can run a mile or two without fatiguing. We have professional athletes, we have teams, the Lakers, the 49ers, the Dodgers, the UFC, using our water so that they can last longer in the sport that they're doing. You guys have heard of, Ronaldo, he uses our water, Jake Paul, all these kind of people. So, Tom Brady, probably all heard of him. He's an amazing guy. The reality is these people use our water because it helps their body function better.
Mm.
And for you,
Yeah.
it's going to help you. And it helps me. I've been drinking it for 20 years. I'm 53 years old. I have zero aches and pains. I sleep wonderfully. I get up in the morning. I can go run, walk miles, climb a mountain 12,000 feet.
How do
This is
people get
the,
it?
huh?
How do we get it? I mean, I
So,
you've done your studies, and I mean, I've read that you do things extensively, so I believe in it.
yeah.
And I'd be curious, how do we find? I mean, it sounds like the woman. Well, how do I get this water? No, but truly, how can we find not the living water? We can go into that on another
Yeah.
podcast too. But how do we find and get our hands on this healthy water that
So the
you made?
easiest way is just to go to echowater.com,
Okay.
ECHO, Echo,
Okay.
ECHO, and then water.com.
Mm.
And, the products are on there. If they type in the coupon code, I think SwagAbility, right? Wouldn't that be a
Right.
good one? So type in SwagAbility and they'll have a nice discount thanks to you.
Mm.
And they'll be able to order any of our products. And we have everything from a drink mix
Hmm.
that has 3 prebiotics and hydrogen. It'll make the hydrogen water and taste like crisp apple. Also, we have rechargeable battery operated devices that you just put clean water in and have a touchscreen like this. This is the
Wow.
flask.
Yes.
I'll unplug it
Yeah.
and you can see right here if I touch this.
Mm. Yeah. It
Hold on.
shows.
If I touch this and I press that, you see 10 minutes
Hmm.
and you can see there we go. See all the bubbles?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is hydrogen gas. At the
Cool.
bottom, this blue light,
Hmm.
that's where oxygen, ozone, chlorine is coming out. And understand just the H2 gas. So what we're doing in here is we're separating water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen gas. And then we're dissolving the hydrogen gas into this water. And then when you're done, you would push the top of the lid to release the pressure. And then we would open it and drink that water and feel amazing.
I
Now,
know
if
people are
people
always
have
talking.
joint issues
Yes, please go
within
ahead.
a day or so, they're not going to have joint pain. People that have gluten and dairy intolerance aren't going to have that after a few weeks. People that have all kinds of issues. There are 1,600 studies so far. You can visit Hydrogen Studies with an S, hydrogenstudies.com, and you can look at all these studies. There's a search page. You can type in diabetes. You'll see 77 studies. You can type in cancer. You'll see 123 studies. Parkinson's. You'll see 22 studies. You can type in all kinds of things that you might be experiencing and see if there's a study showing that hydrogen can benefit.
It's amazing. We'll be sure to include that in our show notes. And we couldn't be happier too to have. We've had a whole line of swag approved products, and we've made Echo Water a swag approved product because
Nice.
we not just the studies. This if it science backs it is what it
Yep.
is. When you
Yep.
see people saying it, yeah. Here's a question for you, and I don't really have the answer. Why do you think we run to the store so much for supplements and this and that, but we never really get down to the foundation of why we need the supplements? It's crazy the way to think about that.
The world has trained us well
Mm,
that we either need a drug for every symptom or a supplement for every symptom.
yeah.
And it's not true. Christ teaches us we need to get to the source problem and fix that.
Amen.
He's not a band aid guy. He says, let's fix the issue.
Specializes in messiness.
Right. So I also, being that I happen to love Christ a lot and want to do everything he says and live in a way that he does, because he's pretty successful at what he does, I want to be like him. And so I've always said I don't want to have a band-aid. I want to fix the source problem. And so I'm very thankful that he taught me about hydrogen, really, because I wasn't the smart guy. I don't get any credit. It really was me listening when I'm praying, listening to the inspiration that led me to understand hydrogen was the answer. And that's it. And I will tell you, hydrogen's not a band-aid. Hydrogen fixes things. Hydrogen will fix the core problem. So all the other ancillary issues will go away. And, you just have to have a little faith, or at least, try it and see if it helps you. I promise you it will. And as you begin to understand that hydrogen is a critical part of the human body, you'll begin to understand, oh, it was the lack of hydrogen that caused all these issues because the gut wasn't functioning properly. And that's what caused the gut issue too. So let me just get hydrogen back into my body. And next thing I know, I'm feeling great again. So that's the story. I hope people listen to that and take that in and just give it a chance.
One last question on the science geeky part of this that I wanted to get answered before we left. You said that hydrogen can enter the cell and protect DNA and mitochondria.
Yeah.
Why does that matter so much for people?
Well, we don't want damage DNA wise. Um, a lot of things can cause DNA damage. DNA damage is not permanent, but it causes a lot of issues. Hydrogen can help protect from DNA damage. And that's one of the roles hydrogen has in the body. So having hydrogen can greatly benefit us when it comes to our DNA functioning, our genetics functioning the way they're supposed to, our brain functioning, all these kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a 7-day reset I think you talked about or recommend if someone feels overwhelmed. What would be the first 7-day reset you would recommend someone that wants to get back to feeling good again? Obviously drinking the water as well, but do you have an opinion on that either way?
Well, what I would do, and this isn't for everyone because you'd have to really look at them and what's going on with them. But you could do a 2-day, 3-day, 4-day, 5-day water fast, with Echo Water. Don't do it without Echo Water because it'll be really tough for you. But if you do it with Echo Water, you won't be as hungry. I would kind of try and sleep earlier in the evening than most people are doing right now. I would try to cut sugar out of the diet. Probably 50% of the sugar that's coming into the diet, cut it out. And I would spend a little more time in prayer and meditation. I think that would be a good reset. The fasting will help with stem cells and helping your body repair itself. The sleep also will do that. Getting outside and moving around a little bit. All these things I've talked about on here, if we just begin doing little bits of it every day,
Yeah.
it's amazing how much you get back.
And amen to that. Before we leave, last time, website is the best way to get a hold of products. Echo Water,
Yep.
Echo. Give us the website once more so I can get it on the screen.
Yep. Echowater.com.
Gotcha.
ECHO and then
Perfect.
water.com. And of course, we're on Amazon. Just make sure you don't buy one of the scam products.
Yes.
99% of the hydrogen products on Alibaba or Amazon aren't really making hydrogen. They're making chlorine gas. And so you definitely don't want that. But if you go and you get an Echo branded and make sure you see Echo's name on it or it's not our product, we are on Amazon. So some people love to buy on Amazon. We are there. But echowater.com, the best discounts are there. The best policies are there. We're able to track you and have warranty support. Like there's 5-year warranties on these products, 10-year warranties on our machines. Keep in mind we have everything from whole house systems to bath units. Taking a bath in hydrogen water is amazing for skin integrity, for collagen, for acne, for psoriasis, for wounds, any of that kind of stuff. Yeah, so we have inhalation, we have we have everything there is. We've just added like a Stanley Cup, a 40-ounce rechargeable battery product called the Echo 40.
Cool.
And, just know we're always innovating.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
If you're looking for those products, folks, you can also link to them. We'll directly link from the SwagAbility store website directly to Echo Water, and you can connect with them there. Thanks for joining us on this episode. Make sure you do my wife and I the biggest honor. Would you consider following us on whatever podcast platform you listen to, or head over to our YouTube page and subscribe there. And you could do us the greatest honor by heading over to swagability.com and finding out what we do and who we help. Our desire is to meet those people that are walking through the darkest time in their life and walk with them so that they can thrive wherever life finds them. Until next time, friends, stay encouraged, stay faithful, and keep thriving wherever life finds you. Swags out.